So, what next?
So some of my other friends are Steve. I gotta talk about Steve.
Yes.
Stephen Hamolia. Steve I met in 7th grade at Hillcrest, same time with Jump Park. But we didn't really become close friends until starting around 9th grade. When we all, me, John, and Steve had an English class together. Mrs. Whipple was her name, and we shared that class together. And I remember the only thing I really remember about that class was one day we had one time in that class we got to just spend the time reading, and kind of like they call them readathons back like in elementary, where you just spend the entire day reading. You could bring blankets and food and stuff, and you just sat there and read all day. So anyway, this period we just read. We could sit wherever we wanted in the class, and so the three of us were sitting together, and I had my wrestling magazines that I brought to read, and I can't remember. I think it was Steve who had it, but maybe it was John. One of us had a bouncing rubber ball, and we just started throwing it in the class as hard as we could, and just bouncing it all across on everybody and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of when that was my first real memory of Steve. And like, this guy's pretty funny. He's pretty cool. So, and with Steve, we really became close the following year in 10th grade at Murray High. And I mentioned with Simpsons, this is around the time I started getting into Simpsons and recording it. Steve's dad was a teacher at Murray High, and Steve during lunch would sit in his dad's classroom, eat his lunch, and just watch movies on his TV that he had in there. So I started recording Simpsons episodes and bringing them in. Steve and I would watch them, and then other kids started coming in and watching them with us. It was kind of cool. And then again around this time was when I got my driver's license. I was always driving my mom's car. So Steve always wanted to cruise State Street. And do you know what Cruising State is?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, what?
Do you know what Cruising State Street is?
Cruiser?
John, Cruising State Street.
Driving down?
Well, yeah, but do you know what, like, if somebody says let's cruise state, do you know what that means?
Drive recklessly?
No, not drive recklessly. No, basically, what it means is you would drive up and down State Street, like on a Friday or Saturday night, and for the idea to talk to people, to talk to girls.
Oh, okay.
So, because that was a busy night.
I didn't know that actually had a name.
Oh, yeah, Cruising State. So Steve always wanted to cruise state, and I had a car, so I'd always take him and stuff, and a bunch of us would go and cruise state. And it was pretty cool. And then that summer, he started working at Kinko's Copy Center, which was open 24 hours. I think it still is open 24 hours, or actually it's FedEx Kinko's now, or FedEx office. But back then it was Kinko's, open 24 hours, and he would work the graveyard shift, and he'd work graveyard shift, and he'd often call me to come over and keep him awake. That we come keep me company and keep me awake. So Brandon and I, either me or Brandon and myself, would drive over to Kinko's, and it was across the street from Conway Mall. We'd drive over there and keep Steve awake. Like within 5 or 10 minutes of us being there, he was telling us to leave. Would start causing trouble or whatever. And I remember one of the favorite things we'd do is we'd go there, and one of us would hide. So he'd be talking to one of us, and while he was distracted, the other one would go and hide. And they'd turn around, oh, come on, you guys, where are you? Brad, where are you? And while he was distracted with that, then I would hide. And so we'd be hiding in his store, and he'd be trying to find us. And he was the only one there. There was hardly anyone, usually no customers there. But he'd like, oh, come on, you guys, where are you? You're getting me in trouble. And sometimes where we were hiding from, would throw things at him, like pencils or whatever. So he'd look for us. So anyway, that was funny. And then one night, we went over there with Brandon's girlfriend at the time, and one of the Kinko's had recently been robbed, had been robbed. And Steve was kind of worried about it. He called me and told me this, and so I went over there. He's like, he's like, we come over with my gas. So I went over to the store, and I had Brandon and his girlfriend with me. And we were joking about Steve, he was worried he was going to get robbed and stuff. And so we made this idea. We went over there, and I went inside, and I was like, yeah, it's just me. Brandon's doing something. I'm going to go pick him up later or whatever. So we're sitting there talking. Well, Brandon was hiding outside, and this is in the summertime, so it was warm. He had just his shorts on, and he took his girlfriend's sports bra and put it on. And he had my mom had this wig, this like afro wig. He put this wig on and some sunglasses, and he started running up and down the sidewalk in front of the store, in front of the windows of the store, and Steve saw him. He's like, I know I'm gonna get robbed. I know I'm gonna get robbed. He's all getting worried. He's like, I know I'm gonna get robbed. I'm like, Steve, if you're getting robbed, don't leave it. I'm not gonna be here if you get robbed. He's like, no, just stay here. So anyway, Brandon's running up and down the sidewalk, and so then he comes running out of the store, and Steve's like, can I help you? And Brandon, he was like, woo! And he went running behind the counter and grabbed a broom and then ran out and stuff. And, I was dying. But anyway, so yeah, and then then he knew it was Brandon, so it was funny. But it was funny stuff. And then another time, we were just always causing problems for Steve, and it never stopped him from inviting us over. He still like, wanted us to come over. So another time we were there, and I think I was wearing flip-flops that day at various points through the day, and a lot of times I was walking around barefoot, and my feet had like gotten black. They were really dirty and black from just being barefoot all day long. And I don't know if I usually wasn't barefoot. I don't know why it was with this day, but anyway, my feet were black, and I went there, and I got up on the counter and started dancing on the countertop with my bare feet, and I was getting like black footprints on the counter. He's like, look what you're doing with your dirty feet. And I was like, oh, I'll clean it. So I grabbed a fire extinguisher and started spraying the fire extinguisher all over and stuff. Yeah. And then another time, he was working in a different store just for that night. It was the store on 39th South and 7th East, and there was a river that ran right next to the store. And Brandon and I got there, and we're walking by this river, and there were some ducks there. So we wanted to catch a duck, and we were trying to catch a duck and then we were like, let's catch a duck and throw it in the store. So we were gonna catch a duck and just open the door and toss the duck in, and like not even let him see us. Just like all of a sudden he's working, the door opens, and the duck comes flying through, and we just laughed. And we never caught the duck. Ducks are hard to catch, but it's so funny. We're just the idea of that, just the idea of Steve chasing a duck through the Kinko's. We died laughing, but it would have been funny. And then one more story with Kinko's and Steve. One night it was just me there, and Steve had a big order to finish for a customer, and it was going to take a couple hours or whatever to like a bunch of copies that had to be made or something like that. So when we'd go there, they had the computers there that you could use, and that was when I don't know if Windows was out, but Solitaire. We used to play Solitaire on the computer, and so I'm sitting there playing Solitaire, and he's doing whatever. And he was doing, this is when he was doing football practice for high school. So he'd work all night, go do football practice in the morning, and then go home and sleep, and then just work again at night. So he's working, and he's telling me, he told me, he was really tired. He's like, I'm really tired. I'm just going to go in the office and sleep for like an hour. Will you wake me up at whatever time? It was like 3 or 4 in the morning. Like, will you wake me up at whatever time so I can finish this order? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So he goes in the office and falls asleep, and I'm just sitting there playing Solitaire. And he's like, wake me up if somebody shows up, if a customer shows up. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So he's in there, and I'm playing Solitaire, and I'm getting bored. And I'm like, so I decided to play a joke on Steve. And I went and I changed all the clocks. So let's say he wanted me to wake him up at 5 in the morning. I changed, and his boss was going to be there by 6:30 or something. So while he's in there sleeping, I went and changed all the clocks to say 6 o'clock. and I set an alarm. It wasn't an alarm. I called from one phone to another phone at Kinko's, so the phone would ring, and I just set it down on the counter or whatever, and I laid on the floor like I was asleep. So the phone starts ringing, and Steve wakes up in the office to answer, and nobody's there. He hangs up. He comes out to see where I am, and he sees the clock, and his boss is going to be there in like a half hour. He thinks it's 6 o'clock, but it was only like 4 or 5. He's like, John, wake up. I'm like laid on the floor. I laid on the floor like I just totally passed out on the floor and stuff, almost sprawled out. He's like, John, wake up, you gotta help me. Like, oh, Steve, I'm tired, I gotta go home. He's like, no, John, you gotta help me. My boss is gonna be here soon. I've gotta get this done. So then I started laughing, told him, I was like, see, it was just a joke, it's not really that time. But yeah, that was a good Steve story.
Yeah.
So those are the Kinko stories. Do you want to pause it or restart it? Going again?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So yeah, those are the Steve Kinko stories. So funny, so much fun. And then I had a lot of Steve stories. I'm trying to think of what came next. So this all happened in the summer after 10th grade. So the following year in 11th grade, I was going to Granite High School for 11th grade because I got kicked out of Murray High because I was sloughing again, and they didn't want me to go there. So instead, I transferred to Granite, thinking that Brandon was going to go to Granite High because he had gone there in 10th grade when he was a turnabout. Well, it turns out he didn't go to Granite. He ended up going to Skyline because his dad lived in the Skyline boundaries, and he was living with his dad that year in 11th grade. So I went to transfer to Granite thinking Brandon was going to be there, and then he turned out he didn't. He went to the Skyline, so I was alone at Granite, knowing nobody. So anyway, I'm going to Granite High School, and it wasn't normal school during the day. It was afternoon school is what they called it for the bad kids who who didn't go to school when they should. So I was going to afternoon school, and my friend Jennifer Peary was her name, and she's now married to Steve. So Jennifer Homalia, one of my dearest, closest friends, was going to Granite at that time, which was actually kind of cool because now I knew somebody at Granite. So she was playing on the basketball team at the time, the girls' basketball team in 11th grade at Granite. Thank you. So Brandon and I would go to her games, and the coach's name was Schlappy, and she was very manly and stuff, and would joke about that. And I remember once we got I probably shouldn't say the story. We got a hold of the team's basketball, or one of the team's basketballs, and we wrote Schlappy something, just a really bad thing about her. And yeah, she had to explain that. And when we would go to her, when Brad and I would go to her games, we would like make fun of them, would yell at them and stuff, her team and her and stuff. We were really mean and really rude, which big surprise. But it got to a point that her coach Schlappy wouldn't let her play if we showed up. Like, those guys show up, you can't play. So she'd tell us, like, please don't come to my games. Like, no, we're going. And now we have reason to go even more so. Anyway, one time when we were there, there was a girl in the stands who went to Granite. Her name was Laura Lee. She's a really pretty girl, and I'm still friends with her. But she was a year younger than us. She was in 10th grade. We were in 11th grade. And I started talking to her and stuff, and became friends with her. She's a really very pretty girl. She still is very pretty. And one night she was having a sleepover at her house. Laura Lee was, and she invited us to come over or whatever. And she had some of her friends there, and I kind of liked her at the time, but we were more friends. So. Yeah, me, Brad, and Steve went over there, and I was being extra rude that night for whatever reason, and I was being rude to her, I think, is what it was. She was getting upset, or I can't remember what it was. No, I wasn't being rude to her. I was being rude to her friend. One of her friends who was there was a real jerk, this girl, and actually she wasn't a jerk. She was just kind of trying to put me in my place, which I probably needed. But I was just, being my jerky self and being a jerk bag. Well, anyway, we're out at her house, and I think it was like January or February, and it was like middle of winter time, and we're out at Laura Lee's house and just being jerks and stuff. So we go to leave, and I had locked the keys to the car were locked inside the car, and I didn't have any extra keys, so we were locked out of my car. I'm like, shoot. So we had to go and talk to Laura Lee and get her brother to drive us to my house to get the extra set of keys, and then drive back and get the car and leave. So we're sitting in their car. It was like, I think it was a Jeep or something, or I don't know, an SUV or something. So the three of us are sitting in the back seat of this car while she goes in to get her brother. And he was a couple years older than us. She had to wake him up to come out and give us a ride. So hold on, pause it. Going?
Yep.
Okay. Alright, so anyway, Laura Lee, we're in the back of the car and stuff. So we're sitting there back there, she gets her brother, he comes walking out, he's really tired, middle of the night. He comes walking out, and he kind of slipped on the sidewalk. He didn't fall, but he just kind of slipped for a minute, and he got mad, and he kicked a garbage can that was right there because he was so mad about it. And the three of us are in the back, we see this, and we're both like, trying not to laugh, and she's like, don't laugh, and stuff. And so anyway, he gets in the car, and he drives me to my house, and the whole time it's just between being tired and being cold, he's just like hunched over like this driving, and we're just trying not to laugh at the whole situation, just how he looked or whatever. So anyway, we get there, and Brandon's like, I'm not going back, I'm just gonna stay here, you guys go. So we rode back and got my car, my mom's car is what it was. Got my mom's car and drove back, and as we're driving back, as we come onto my street, and again, it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, or about 3 in the morning at this point. And I think it was Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So we pull onto the street, and at the top of my street is, there's like a place called Salt Lake Corvettes. And I don't know what they do with Corvettes or whatever, but it's just kind of always been there. I think it's still there now. But they had one of those big trucks, those big car moving trucks, with a bunch of cars on the truck, and there was a guy there, and he was trying to unload cars, and we stopped, and we helped him out. You need some help? He's like, yeah, if you'll. I can't remember what we did to help him, but we helped him unload a couple cars off this truck. And then Steve, I think Steve decided to walk back to my house from there. So it was just me, and this guy gave me $10. He's like, here, you split this with your friend. I'm like, okay. So I pocketed that. Yeah, I didn't split it with Steve. But I remember the last thing from that night is we got back to my house, and the three of us are there, and I didn't have cable TV at the time, so we just had the basic channels. So 3, 4 in the morning on a Saturday night, most channels are off the air at that time. So, and I remember Channel 2 had a screen that showed you the time, the weather, the wind, how fast the wind was blowing and stuff like that. So as we're falling asleep, we had it on this channel. We were just so bored and tired. We're just watching the channel, like watching which direction the wind's blowing, north, northwest, south, southwest, southeast, whatever. And we're like entertaining ourselves by guessing which way the wind was going to blow next, stuff like that. But yeah, and I remember it was a couple days later, something where I was out with Steve, and I went to pay for something. He's like, "Where'd you get money?" Like, "Oh, that guy gave me money from the other night. He gave me $10, so we split it with you." He's like, "Were you gonna split it with me?" I'm like, "No, it's mine now." I just didn't care. That's how big a jerk I was. So yeah, that was the story of Laura Lee. What other Steve stories could I share? Here, pause it a second. Going?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So another Steve story. The Steve stories I was just telling John, they're some of my favorite because they're funny. They were funny stories, and we were just always laughing. But
a lot of burned out trees.
Yeah.
Was there fire up here recently?
Last year there was. So Steve, I'm getting the trees. We're no trees. We're almost to Strawberry Reservoir right now.
Yep.
So Steve, in '93, he got a car. He got his own car. I can't remember what it was. It was some little car, and he would drive us around and stuff. And I mentioned that he lived in Cruise State. Well, now he had his own car in Cruise State. So one night we were cruising State. It was the three of us, me, Brandon, and Steve, and this kid named Jason who we were kind of hanging out with. So the four of us were in Steve's little tiny car, all cramped in there, and I think it was Jason's. Somebody brought water guns. I think like super soakers, the like really high-powered water guns. I think it was Jason who brought them. I can't remember. Anyway, we had these water guns, and we're shooting at other cars and Steve's driving, and he's just knocking off you guys. So we didn't care. We're just shooting other cars. But we shot at some guys in a car, and we were at a red light, and we were here, and they were next to us on Steve's on the left, and they stopped and they backed up to Steve, and they had one of them had a bottle like hanging out the window, like it was gonna bash us, and Steve like rolled up his window trying to die or whatever, and the guy's like, "Hey, you guys got a problem? You got a problem? What's the deal?" And she's like, I'm sorry, we thought you were someone else." That's Steve's voice. That's my impression of Steve's voice. Anytime I ever talk about Steve or quote him, I always do that's just his voice and stuff, which isn't quite what it is, but it kind of is. So anyways, like, I'm sorry, we thought you were someone else. So they start to leave again, and Brandon, I think, like reached out and shot him again, and Steve turned right and took off. He's like, "You guys are gonna get me killed," and stuff, which of course made us laugh harder. So then another time around this time, not that same night, but a different night, I was sitting in the back seat, and Steve's driving, and Brandon's in the passenger seat, and he had one of those brakes that you pull up on in the middle, and Steve was letting Brandon drive, and Steve was sitting in the passenger seat, and he's letting Brandon drive, and he's like, "Hey, now just be careful with this car, just telling Brandon how to, just be careful driving it." He's like, "Don't do anything funny or something." And Brandon's driving, he's like, "Oh, like this?" And he pulled the brake up, and Steve, like, it suddenly stopped, and Steve's seat he had scooted his seat back, but didn't, like, lock it in place, so it kind of slid up as the car stopped. And so he was like, "Fuck!" He was saying the F word is what it was, but he's like, "Fuck!" And that became known as the sliding F, because Steve slid as he said it. Yeah. And then another night, we met some girls. We were getting gas at a gas station, and there was a car of girls nearby, like some really pretty girls. I think there were four of them, and there were three of us. So they were getting gas, we're getting gas, and Brandon, I think, went over and talked to them and paid for their gas. He's like, "Yeah, if you girls want to come over, we're just hanging out at our house," or So they did. We all went back to my house, and Brandon's talking to one girl, and there may have just been three girls, I can't remember. But Brandon's talking to one girl and ended up making out with her, which usually is what happened. So Brandon's talking to one girl, I'm talking to another girl, and Steve's trying to talk with another girl, but the other girl just really wasn't interested in stuff, and she, eventually her attention went away from Steve and went to Brandon and I or whatever, and so we're sitting in my room talking to these girls in the middle of the night, and we're just sitting in the dark at this point, and so they're talking. Steve got really quiet because he was getting pissed off that none of them were talking to him. And I had a cat at the time. I had a couple cats, I think, at this time. So he said they're just petting one of my cats. He's just sitting in the dark petting the cats. And they're like, "Steve, what?" He's like, we go, "Steve, why are you being so quiet?" He goes, "What'd you like me to say?" And he's so bad, just petting the cat. We're like, "No, Steve, just keep petting the cat." So, yeah, there was that. Yeah, there was another time where we would prank call people. I could actually do a lot about lot of time about prank calls. So we would do a lot, going back to when I was in junior high and even elementary school. We would prank call people, but the ones that was Steve, he had a friend named Levi who he grew up with, and Levi's mom, she had been married to a guy who was, I guess, really abusive to her, and they had a son named Sid. That's like Levi's younger brother, named Sid. Anyway, or no, the husband's name was Sid. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, the abusive husband's name was Sid, and Levi's mom and Sid were separated or divorced, and she had like a restraining order out on him and stuff, and he wasn't to come around. But they did have a son together. It was Levi's younger brother. So Steve told us this story, and like let's call Levi. So we called, and Levi's mom answered, and it was Brandon, and he was telling her, and he's like, I can't remember whatever his mom's name was. Like, hey, this is Sid. I'm in the Marriott downtown. I'm coming for my boy. Levi's mom's like, no, you're not. He's like, I'm coming for my boy. He can't stop me. And he hung up, and we laughed and stuff, and then just moved on. But I worked with Levi at McDonald's at the time. I worked with him. That's the first time I met Levi, and then just through working with him, I came to know that he grew up with Steve. So a couple of days later, I'm working with Levi, and he was. I think he finally did come out as gay, but he was one of those people who you kind of always knew they were gay. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but he was very effeminate. And he would, at lunch at McDonald's, he would always drink like a little thing of milk. Like a little, yeah. He was drinking his milk in the break room, and I go back there, and I'm talking to him, and I mentioned to him that, we prank called him. I think I was there, no, I was there, but it was Brandon who made the call. Anyway, I told him, I mentioned it to him, and he got mad. He's like, we were up all night. We had to call the police. The police came, and they made sure that nobody came over. Like, oh, well, sorry, Levi, that was just us. But I remember he took his milk and he poured it on my head. He was so mad. That was how he, expressed anger, was pouring milk on my head. But yeah, it was that. What else? Oh, so another time we were making prank calls. What was it? It was more Brandon and Steve making these calls. I was there, but I wasn't really making calls myself. They called our principal's name was Mr. Tranter at Murray High School. And this is our senior year in high school. And I mentioned I had to go to Brandon in 11th grade. Well, my senior year, I went back to Murray. So they called Mr. Tranter, and Steve's, one of the teachers that Steve and I shared, his name was Paul Drake, Mr. Drake. And I had him in first period, and Steve had him later in the day. And they called Mr. Tranter, the principal, and he answered like, hey Dick, his name was Richard Tranter, and they're like, hey Dick, this is Paul Drake. Like, oh hey Paul, how you doing? He's like, well, not very good. I'm decided to quit. He's like, you're gonna quit? He's like, yeah, I think you're a dick or something. They hung up. So then, so basically they called Mr. Tranter as Mr. Drake and quit, teaching and stuff. And so the following Monday, I think it was on a weekend. Following Monday, I have Mr. Drake for first period, and I'm in the class, and he mentioned that he's like, yeah, apparently one of my students decided to play a joke on me and called Mr. Tranter and stuff, and of course I knew who it was and stuff. Well, in my class, everybody started thinking it was somebody else who was in this class, some other kid who, and like Mr. Drake was kind of giving him a hard time, like, oh yeah, I know you called and stuff, and it was bothering me. It was really bothering me that like this kid was getting credit for it because I knew who it was and it wasn't this kid and stuff. And everybody was like, giving this kid a hard time and laughing about it and stuff. Like, oh, we know you called him and stuff. So I raised my hand. I was like, Mr. Drake, I know who it was. It was Steve Hamolia. So he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, Steve Hamolia called. He's the one who did it. He's like, oh, I'll have to talk with Mr. Hamolia. So then, that quieted everybody down and stuff. Like, yeah, that's right. It wasn't this kid. It was Steve who did it. So then later in the day, Steve, Mr. Drake talked to him and stuff. He's like, oh, I hear you had a busy weekend. I heard you were making phone calls and stuff. And of course, Steve denied it and everything. And then he told me about it. So I was like, yeah, I told him. He's like, why would you tell him? I'm like, well, because I didn't want this other kid getting credit. You deserve credit for that. He's like, I don't mind not getting credit for this. He's like, that's fine. Let this other kid take the blame. But no, I was a good friend. I made sure that Steve got credit for that. So, oh boy, yeah, just a lot of calls, a lot of good times. Yeah, I think that's all about Steve for now.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to our next one. All right. So our last subject is Sarah.
Who?
Sarah,
Who's that?
your wife, my stepmom.
Oh, Sarah. Okay, I misunderstood. Yeah, Sarah. My dear sweet Sarah.
Yep. His wife, my stepmom.
My current wife. Wife number 2. I know. So yeah, we talked about Sarah. So I should we've been talking about my friends and stuff. I should mention that we're bypassing a lot of my friends. There was Todd. Todd Wright was my first friend, my very first best friend. I knew him. I was born in February. He was born in March, same year, '76. And our moms were friends. And yeah, Todd. I grew up with Todd. I haven't seen him in a long time. I still stay in touch with them, but I haven't seen him in a long time. But yeah, for a lot of years there, growing up, he was my very best friend. Even more so than Brad in some ways. But a lot of because I knew Todd first and stuff, but we'd have sleepovers and everything when I was little. So there's Todd, Matt Jurgensen, can't forget Matt, who I met when I worked at IHG for Holiday Inn, when I was guest relations office. So there's Matt, Jason Lee, who I also worked with at IHG, and has been a very close friend. So I'm just for time constraints and stuff, we're kind of skipping over a couple people, but yeah, there's a lot of stories there we'll have to get back to. But
Next season.
Yeah, next season. Yeah. But I should also mention to Tina Dennis, your mom's cousin,
Yeah.
who I've been friends with for 30 years now. 30 years this summer. 1989 is when I met her, and she was very, very well. It's because of her that I met your mom.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met her otherwise. But yeah, even before that, I met a lot of her friends and had a lot of fun with some of her friends. And even after, when I met when I was working towards my mission, your mom was Tina was.
Oh yes. How long did you last on your mission?
Oh, geez, John, that's a whole other part.
All right.
Yeah,
Whatever.
we'll have to tell that story. That is a story. Well, maybe we'll do the Sarah one, then we'll tell the mission story.
Okay.
Okay.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. So, but Tina, yeah, through my mission and stuff, she was one of my closest friends. Jennifer Perry, who I mentioned, with Steve's story, she's married to Steve now. For a long time, a lot of people thought we were going to get married. I even thought we were going to get married just because we were that close. But obviously we never did. And that's fine. She's happy with Steve, and I'm happy with Sarah. So, all's well that ends well there. But with Sarah, so I met her on my birthday in 2008. We met on Match.com. Yeah, we just, I think she liked or winked at my profile or flirted with my profile, whatever it is you do on there. She liked me and I liked her back and stuff. We started talking a little bit, and my birthday was coming up. This was just a couple days before my birthday, and as you remember, for my birthday or for birthdays, we usually with our family would get together
Yep.
and have dinner and stuff. Well, my birthday that year, I think it fell on a Friday, February 8th, 2008, fell on a Friday, and we weren't going to do anything for my birthday until like Sunday night or something. So on my birthday itself, I had no plans. So we're just talking, getting to know each other, and I told her, I was like, look, I know this sounds lame and kind of really pathetic, but my birthday's coming up. I have no plans at all. Would you like to go out with me for my birthday? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And so we met at Olive Garden in Layton, and we had dinner that night, and then we went and saw Sweeney Todd, the movie Sweeney Todd with Johnny Depp.
One of my favorite movies.
One of
the
his favorites.
Best musical I've ever seen.
Best musical. So we went and did that, and she felt bad for me, I guess, because it was my birthday, and I was coming off kind of pathetic, I guess. So she got me she brought me a birthday card. She's always thinking of others. She got me a birthday card, and this has become a running joke with us. She got me a birthday card, just like a generic type card, and inside she wrote, hope you have a good one," and stuff. And so now it's, like I said, it's a running joke where, hope you have a good one. Just, it's like so non-committal and everything, but yeah. But she told me that she wanted to make a joke of it and write, "Hope you get lucky," but since it was our first date, she didn't want to come off that way. But anyway, so start dating, and I really started to like her, but I guess I was coming off too strong to her, and it kind of scared her a little bit. So she kind of held back initially for a while, just because I was such a strong force, so forceful by nature. So she kind of held back, and it was making me mad because I'd call her and she wouldn't answer her phone, and there were a number of times where she wouldn't answer and stuff, and I was like, okay, this girl better not be screwing around with me. Like, I like this girl, and she better like me back, because I'll be pissed if she doesn't. I'll be pissed. So anyway, all it was I was coming off. She didn't know quite how to take me and stuff, and I was but it worked out. And I've come to find out that her not answering her phone is actually a common thing, because even to this day, I'll call her, people will call her, and she won't answer. Like, Caitlin will call her oldest daughter will call, and it's gotten to the point where Caitlin will usually just call me if she needs to get hold of her mom, because I answer my phone, Sarah doesn't. She loses it or has the ringer off or just some crap. But anyway, so yeah, we started dating, and then we got married in October 17th, 2008, and yeah, we've been together ever since. We have Emma together. She was born February 9th, 2012, and yeah.
All right.
She's the love of my life.
Yep. Oh. So let's get to the mission story.
All right, John, I probably want to start a new one.
Now we're only 6 minutes in.
I know, but this is a long story. Just start over.
I can split it into parts.
John.
Whatever. Going on missions lasts for 2 years, but your story is actually interesting.
Much shorter.
Much shorter.
Yep, much shorter. All right.
We're stuck on an RV at a construction site, so we have time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Get the yawns out of the way. It's going to make me yawn a couple times since it's a long story. I'll try to make it brief. So in 93 is when I met your mom, and she was big into church. Her and her family, as they still are, they were big into church, and I was never big into church at all. I was baptized when I was 10, but I was never really active. For like little brief periods when I was growing up, I'd be active, but yeah, since I had been baptized, I wasn't active at all. So I started going to church with your mom and her family, and then her and I broke up because we were getting too serious, and she wanted to date other people and stuff like that. And so what's that noise? All right. Anyway, no, it was like something rattling around over there. So we broke up, and this was right around the time of my high school graduation. And then I went to work at McDonald's. I went back to work at McDonald's full time. I had been working there part-time during the school year and the summer before, but now that school was done, I was just going to work there full time. So when I went back to work there, I had taken some time off to try to focus on graduating. I never got to graduate with my class, though. I didn't have enough credits because of skipping school when I was younger, which is, I shouldn't have done. Oh, yeah. That's actually my biggest life regret, is I never got to graduate with my class. But anyway, I had taken some time off from McDonald's to focus on school. School was now done, so I went back to work at McDonald's. When I went back there, this is the McDonald's in Taylorsville. When I went back to work there was a manager who had just come home from his mission. His name was Scott Pugh. and I hadn't met him before. He had worked there before his mission, but that was before I worked there. So I got to know Scott and just working around him every day and stuff. I started just getting into the idea of serving a mission, and he had served his mission in Venezuela, and he spoke Spanish. And not that I was big into Spanish or speaking foreign languages or anything, but I was really impressed with the way with who he was and how he was and the way he lived his life and stuff like that. And he really made an impression on me. And I didn't really have any direction in my life at that time. I didn't have any plans to go to college and stuff. So I decided, well, I think I'll start going back to church and I'll focus on a mission. So this was in the spring, early summer of '94 when I was 18. So I started going back to church, and the bishop in my ward was Bishop Hansen, Richard Hansen. And when I was growing up, he had lived in the house across the street from me, and I kind of grew up with his kids, playing with his kids when I was really little. And so he knew my family, he knew me, he knew our situation as far as, my dad not being around and my family not being active, and I'd actually gone to church with him and his family when I was really little, and in fact he was the one that baptized me when I was 10. I chose him to baptize me just because I had gone to church with him and his family when I was younger, so I wanted him to baptize me. So it was cool that he was our bishop, or my bishop at the time, because like I said, he knew my situation, he kind of knew about my life and stuff. So he was really helpful in helping me work towards the mission. And I had to wait, of course, till I was 19, and I had some time there. So throughout the rest of '94 and the first part of '95, that's what my focus was just going to church every week, learning as much as I could about the gospel and about the church, the scriptures and stuff like that. Really focusing on a mission, and just Scott Pugh was really helpful in that, and hung out with him at work and stuff, and talked about it. And one of the other managers there, her name was Katrina, and I became really close to her. She was really into church as well, and she was a Samoan and stuff, and just a very proud Samoan woman, very, very tough, and just, you didn't mess with Katrina. But she was really cool, and we would spend a lot of time. We worked nights. Katrina and I and Marcy and a bunch of people I was friends with, Mark and Rob, and a lot of our friends. I became friends with everybody who worked there. We really became like a family at that store during that time. But we would work nights, then would stay up after we closed. Once we got all of our work done, we would stay in the lobby area of McDonald's, like sit at the tables and stuff, and just talk about church and talk about our lives and just experiences and stuff like that. So it was really cool and really helpful in getting me to where I needed to be. So I was working towards all this. I think it was April of '95 is when I turned my papers in, and then it was early May, I think like May 2nd of '95 is I got my mission call to Hartford, Connecticut, is where I was supposed to serve. And then later in May, I went through the temple for the first time. I went with Scott Pugh. He went with me, and he ordained me as an elder. And just I thought it was the reason I chose these guys, Bishop Hansen to baptize me and Scott to ordain me and go through the temple with me, was just because I recognized just what a huge influence they were on me and how important they were to me. So I wanted them to, specifically, I asked them to do it just for what they meant to me. So anyway, I was supposed to go to the MTC to report to the MTC on July 19th, 1995, and which was a Wednesday. But, missionaries always go in on Wednesdays. So the previous Sunday, July 16th, was my missionary farewell. And so your mom was there, mm-hmm. and all of her family, and Grandpa was there.
Yep.
And Grandpa, I asked him to speak at my farewell, and Scott Pugh spoke, and of course Bishop Hansen spoke, and then I spoke. And that was the first time I'd seen your mom, and I'd seen her a couple times earlier in the year, but other than that, it had been like over a year since I'd seen your mom. just because we were broke up and stuff. And it was also kind of significant because July 16th was my mission farewell. Well, July 16th, 2 years earlier in '93 is when I met your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of cool that, the 2-year anniversary of meeting your mom, I was seeing your mom again for the first time and stuff. So we're finally moving. We're stuck in traffic.
What the heck?
John's just construction. Just road construction.
I'm sorry. I'm just glad we're moving.
I'm glad we're moving too.
All right. Sorry.
All right. So anyway, had my mission farewell, and it was really cool. And like I mentioned, I didn't get to graduate with my class. Well, my missionary farewell, to me, in a lot of ways, was kind of like a graduation. It was a graduation of the year, the previous year that I'd put in towards working towards this mission, all the progress I'd made. All my family were there, all my friends were there. Your mom was there and stuff. It was really cool to be able to stand in front of everybody. And it was just kind of like I made it. I finally made it. And so it was kind of like a redemption, because I'd had some dark times when your mom and I were breaking up and
Nothing
stuff.
suicidal, right?
Well,
Okay.
there were some dark times. Let's just say that. What are you doing?
I want to think I'm recording. Okay.
There was a lady. We're moving slowly through traffic, and the lady was standing out there with her slow sign for keep traffic slow. John hid the camera because he didn't want her to know when he's recording. She doesn't care, John. She's not paying attention.
Alright, whatever.
So anyway, but no, there was I considered suicide, John. Not that I really wanted to, but I was just in a dark place and just really depressed and stuff. And honestly, I was really against the church at that time too. When I was dealing with that with your mom, just because I thought it was the church's fault that she was breaking up with me. And it wasn't the church's fault, but she was heavily influenced by the church and her bishop and her parents and stuff, and just some of the things we were doing that we shouldn't have been doing and stuff like that. And I understand that now, but at the time I was very bitter. Mm-hmm. So when I met Scott Pugh and stuff, that turned my heart around and softened my heart, and just it got me turned around where I needed to be. So anyway, had my missionary farewell. Got to see your mom, and then, it was really cool. And that night, after the farewell, I was home, or I was hanging out with Tina that night, because, we were close during that time. I was hanging out with Tina, and I drove her home, and I remember I got home that night, and...
Road closed?
That road, John. Oh, jeez, calm down. So I got home that night, and Tiff, my niece Tiff, my oldest niece Tiff, was at our house, and she's like, "Yeah, Sherry called you." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, Sherry called. She said call her back." I'm like, "Wow, okay." And I hadn't talked to your mom on the phone in a long time,
right,
and stuff, and obviously I saw her that day and got to hang out with her a little bit, but it was pretty cool. Like, oh wow. So I called Sherry, and she wanted to go out. So the next night, her and I went on a date, and it was our first date in over a year and stuff, and her and I just pretty much picked up where we left off. Mm-hmm. So I spent that was, my farewell was a Sunday. I spent Monday and Tuesday with her, and then I was going to the MTC on Wednesday. Right. So I spent Monday with her, spent Tuesday with her. Tuesday night was when I was supposed to get set apart as a missionary, and her dad, your grandpa, set me apart as a missionary. And so then the next day, was when I was going to the MTC, and before that I went and saw your mom one last time, and then we drove to the MTC in Provo, and my family left me there, like they're supposed to. So they left me there, and like just from the time I got there, I was having a really hard time. Not just, it was in part because, with your mom, it was nice being back together with her and stuff, but I just was having a hard time being away from home, and just with the rules they have at the MTC. So like you have to go to bed by 10:30 at night. Your whole focus is on church and missionary work, which I knew that going in. It's not that I was surprised, but I just didn't know how that would affect me to actually, okay, now you have to actually do it and stuff. And I was used to staying up all night. I was used to no rules. I was used to just doing whatever I wanted when I wanted to do it. And again, I knew all this going in to the MTC. It's not that I was suddenly surprised and shocked, like, wait, what? But I didn't prepare myself mentally for all these changes that I was going to have to go through. So I got there and, having to go to bed out early and stuff. And once again, I knew, but it's like, hey, but I'm not tired. I'm laying there at 10:30 at night, I'm wide awake and stuff. It was a really hard adjustment for me. And I kind of started to panic. And I found that that's kind of how I am. I'm used to being in control, or at least having a choice of what I get to do and stuff. I don't like being made to do something. Like, if you ask me to do something, or if I need to do something, I will. But when I have no choice but to do it, I tend to resist that, and I will start to panic inside about that. So I'm there that first night, wide awake, trying to sleep, finally fall asleep. Next day, you got to wake up at 6 or 6:30. I can't remember. You're expected. You're setting aside your life, your whole life, to do this work, and I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't ready as I should be for that. And I know I've since learned, it's like the MTC is the hardest part for every missionary, because it is a kind of a shock to the system to have to do this and dedicate yourself to it. Most people get through it just fine, but I wasn't. Suddenly I wanted to leave. I just did not want to be there. Had nothing to do with your mom. A lot of people have thought that in the time since then, that you just wanted to get back to Sherry, which was not the case.
Let's pause real quick. Alright.
Okay. Yeah, it was not the case. It's not that I wanted to go back to your mom or anything like that. I was just having a really hard time adjusting to this new life and what was expected of me. So I decided it was time for me to go. I was done. So what I did is my companion, you meet your companion when you first get in there, and he's supposed to be with you the entire time. So my companion, he knew I was having a hard time. So I told him, we were in one of the classrooms.
Oh, we're out of there.
Yes, we're out of the construction.
You're out of the construction. It's about time.
So my companion knew I was having a hard time. We were in one of the classes that morning, I think it was morning, maybe afternoon, early afternoon. Anyway, I told him, I was like, I'm going to go call the mission president. And there's phones in the hallways of all the buildings there that go up to the front office. So I went out of the classroom, I was by myself, I just kind of walked around for a minute. I didn't actually use the phone, just walked around to kill time. And then I went back in the classroom and started getting my stuff, and I told him, I was like, it was before lunch. Because I told him, I was like, the mission president wants to meet with me. And my companion's like, do you want me to go with you? I was like, no, he told me to have you go to lunch with the other elders, and I'll catch up to you guys later. Like, okay. So I walked out of the building, walked out of the class, walked out of the building. Finally by myself. This guy's, companion is supposed to be with you all the time. Finally by myself, I went back to our room, changed into my normal clothes from the previous day, and, man, are you kidding me? Sorry, this big truck had to pull in front of me because this other lane's blocked off. Anyway, I blew a tire. That sucks.